It used to be like kind of cool, like I don't know, dopamine kick or whatever, but it's just normal nowadays. Like it's nothing special anymore, but it's still fun, you know. You can get the same fun, of course, playing legit, but if you try like some jumps for 100 attempts, like even my hand starts hurting, and I don't know, it's very frustrating. So I think boarding gives satisfaction in a way that's more chill. Like you can chill a lot, you know. I think that's very nice.
For sure. People think bottom you can just hold WA, WD and land anything you like. Usually, if we're trying something, well, we don't usually do stuff that's easy, even for botters. We could be spending hours and hours, even days and days on bounces. I mean, there's a lot of bounces that I think are still possible with bots that I've probably spent maybe 3 days grinding, and still haven't landed. But yeah, when we finally do get to land stuff we've been grinding for hours and hours, of course, yeah, we get nice little gratification inside.
Well, the satisfaction for me is actually like, I wouldn't say incredible, but it is. It's really good because, in a sense, there's like a small community of us botters now and like people that use bots. So like, we're always trying to push each other to see what's possible. So when there's like 2 or 3 of us attempting one jump, and you're the one that does it first, it's like, holy shit, like, you know, I've done it. Like it's actually, you know, we know that now that this is possible. So yeah, I would say really satisfying.
I think boarding is a lot about creativity. You can pull off some super crazy routes through maps using B-up slides and whatnot. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
There is not a single game out there that tool-assisted speedrunning is not accepted. I believe that TASing and using tools to speedrun the game faster is the standard no matter what you play. So why is CodJumper any different then? Why cannot we accept tool-assisted speedrunning and botting as it is? Well, in my opinion, there are 2 main reasons. But the biggest and by far the most important reason is moderation.
I would say it can be beneficial to the game, but I haven't seen much of it, you know, simply because most people look down upon tool-assisted stuff instead of learning from it, and the most common theme is that even the people who hate boarding then start to ask us to try jumps for them, but then continue to talk bad about it, which I find a bit odd. But yeah, I think what's missing is the acceptance of it, like in other games, for example.
There is no way to moderate tools right now. That way means that we must permit the tools instead of accepting them and using them. In Code 4 there is no TAS leaderboard like there is on any other games, and tools only get looked down upon and considered cheating for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, that entire topic is like, I'm kind of sad about that because, you know, as you said, CS and stuff, they accept it, but in CJ it's not very accepted. So I doubt that 3XP would add something like this, but I think it's because CJ is kind of different than CS or other games. It's much smaller, you know, only has like 3XP and JH server that have speedrunning, and if you use bot on 3XP you simply get blacklisted because they couldn't find any other solution to integrate it.
We have no way to moderate or know when a tool is being used on the run. Until now.
Okay, so Speedrunner is a tool that's injected into the process and allows you to do a speed run and be recorded to my server, but you can do it from any server or dev map in the game. This helps people with high pings or anything like that. You can just dev map it. Then of course I've added in some custom demos, and that'll help you out to be able to see a jump be completed or record your own cool jump. So currently in Speedrunner, it's going to detect any kind of strafe bot or strafe helper, any kind of FPS helper for the most part, any kind of packet editing, anything that should really flag you as a cheater.
Not only does Speedrunner moderate any kind of tool or bot usage, it also moderates any kind of usage of an unfair command, like SVFPS or G-Speed for instance. With this tool, we can accept botting in this game. We can moderate and completely see anyone who's using any kind of tool in any speedrun, no matter what server they play or where they play from, and we can detect any unfair command usage on the fly. Speedrunner can revolutionize CodJumper speedrunning forever as we know it. And the botters can have their own TAS leaderboards like they were supposed to from the very beginning. But who exactly are all these botters that we have in the game right now?
What got me into it was probably, I felt like I got to a stage where I was comfortable enough playing legit and just playing the game, but then I noticed other people starting to use like bots and like tool assisted stuff, and I was like, okay, right, that started to like really tickle that part of my brain. It was like, right, okay, I want to see what's possible here. I was like, there was something about it that seemed that it was pushing the limits of the game, and that's kind of like something that I'm really used to. Like, I like doing in life. I like seeing how far I can push something. So that's kind of what got me into it.
I first seen Salty using some kind of tool. I had no idea what it was at the time. This was probably about 3.5 years ago. I was spectating him with my friend, and he thought he was a bit sus. I just thought he was just a bit of a weird player, but turned out he was using a bot after some investigating, because he wasn't very open about it back then. And I kind of wanted a bot myself. No one would give it to me. I didn't know any programming, so it was kind of the journey of starting to program for me.
Mainly just the developing of it. Just reverse engineering and learning in general. I just want to push the limits. Learn what we can do better.
Okay, so I think computers are absolutely fascinating and basically as close to magic as we can get nowadays. And being able to control such a machine through programming or whatever is just mind-blowing to me, even to this day. So basically one day I was doing like a stupid bhop script in like 2015, and then got the idea to try something to, emulate strafes. And I think, I'm not sure who it was exactly, but I think it was Mirko actually, who showed me an article about quake strafing theory by some guy called INJX. No idea how to pronounce that name, but yeah. But at the time I was like too uneducated to even understand the article, because it involved like linear algebra. So I tried it my own way, and that's basically what X32 turned into. And it was just like a small script written in Auto-it, which is a small scripting language, and it involved like no actual strafing logic at all. It was just turning and doing like random angles and whatnot. But yeah, and then, which year was it? I think it was 2016, where I got like kind of frustrated with 3XP and quit CJ. And some years later I found out about Batman, right? Like the iconic guy who first pulled off an actual strafe bot. You could call it that, I guess. And I'm pretty sure he used the same strafing theory article that Mirko mentioned some years before. So that got me motivated to try again. But doing those things properly requires like some game hacking knowledge. So you're working basically from within the engine and not doing unreliable external stuff, you know. And so yeah, I first learned a bunch of stuff about that, and then I kind of introduced Pause to that game hacking topic because we've been close friends for years. And then we developed the Anvil project together, which Lefty joined, I think, beginning of 2022. So I think that's for that part. And in general, like TAS stuff or tool-assisted speedrun, I've seen like a lot of videos on YouTube, specifically by a guy called Wiz. There's like a channel on YouTube called Power of Heavy Metal that showcases Quake defrag and sometimes features that Wiz guy who does like absolutely amazing bot runs. And that kind of, how do you say, sparked like an interest for me, because TAS is like being unlocked, you know? You can get very creative with it simply because you bypass the insane amount of time that would need to be invested to get like lucky for everything to work out in your favor. And yeah, of course, what else? Like creating such a tool in itself is like a massive learning experience, which has pushed my programming knowledge like quite a bit. So yeah, I think that's what got me into it mostly.
While watching that speedrun that Ziz mentions in his interview, I was completely amazed by the sheer amount of creativity Wiz has put in that speedrun. The RPG shots that simply are pre-fired where Wiz will land on a platform that is way further ahead than where he's going currently. And then he gets to those platforms at the exact timing the RPG will hit it and gain insane amounts of speed towards the direction he needs to go. It's absolutely jaw-dropping to me. After watching that speedrun, I can easily see where Ziz is coming from, saying that you need insane creativity in order to be good at tool-assisted speedrunning. And I can clearly tell why he likes it. About the others, well, it really makes sense. You want to create something that works, and you want to see what you create really come to life and perform well. And you get an insane satisfaction from seeing that whatever you do basically works. I felt it while mapping, and I'm sure the feeling they get from when they see something they develop do so well should be absolutely insane. While interviewing Ziz and listening to the recording, we got to hear a bit of history about how tool-assisted speedrunning started in CodJumper. And the start of it all was really X32. But X32 was something very minor. It was only a first step, and it wasn't really anything that could make a wow factor or let anyone do an insane bounce that they'd never done before. But within that recording, we can also hear a very, very special name being brought up. A name that pioneered Code 4 tool-assisted speedrunning as we know it. And that name is Batman.
In general, I think the first time I got into it, the first tool I used was actually a tool that I made. It was called Elibot. The first version I made in 2011 or 2012, I think. And this was a tool to complete elevators automatically in Code 4. The tool arose through a discussion with a friend about how you could script elevators. And we sort of came to the conclusion that you couldn't really script them, but you could program them if you had access to the game's memory. So that was really my first encounter. I was sort of interested to start with automating things in the game and automating things in general using programming. So That was really where it started. I would say if you're talking more specifically about jump hacks or scripts or whatever, that came later. It was after some years break from the game. I came back in, I think, 2018 or something. And I was having a discussion again with a different friend about how he was scripting some bounces, and he was saying to me that you probably have like optimal strafes through using config scripts or just .cfg scripts. And I was disagreeing with him and saying that I don't think it would be optimal strafes at all. And that prompted me to think about how you would have optimal scripts or optimal strafes in COD 4. And I came to the conclusion that, again, it needed a programmatic solution. It didn't need an in-game script solution, because there was more variables than you could access through scripts that you needed to access, one of which is the player's velocity, of course. So that's really how I got into it. Both times it was an interesting programming project for me, and I learned a lot about programming through doing these things. That was very nice for me. That's how it generally started. So the aspect I like about using these tools is, it's hard to explain. I think it's a lot to do with automation. I like having things, I don't know, I just like automating things and taking out the human aspect, I suppose. Because when you have the human aspect, it's all about improving skill and your execution of the trick and all that stuff. I kind of like going beyond that and finding the limits of what is and isn't possible. And you can't really do that, especially not with my skill level. So to sort of explore that area, you have to get programmatic with it.
Batman's main motive for creating all the tools he has created so far for both CodJumper and CS Surfing is the aspect of automation. And he really likes generally when things are done on their own. But besides that, he wants to keep himself as busy as possible while learning from the process itself of creating the tool.
Well, the benefit to me is enjoyment. It gives me a project to work on. All of the projects that I've done to do with TAS have been programming projects. I've never really taken on any sort of work from anyone else. So there's been lots of learning experiences, and it's just fun. I just enjoy it. So it's a very big motivator. If you have a project that's has a lot of learning opportunities and you also enjoy, it's also always difficult to stay away from that. In terms of benefit to the game, I think there's been lots and lots of contributions that TAS has had to COD 4 and to Counter-Strike as well. In COD 4, I don't know if it was the discovery of FPS values, but particularly proving the use of different FPS values, because I think they were known about before, but just not generally used so much. So really testing the limits of FPS values, testing the limits of jumps, what isn't possible with difficult jumps. In Counter-Strike, I've been doing surf tasks, and I've provided quite a few useful things to the community, I think, and they've been very thankful to me for that. And I always appreciate the acceptance that I've had in the Counter-Strike community. But I've had things like just testing whether certain shortcuts are possible, testing what sort of minus I can get on a world record for a map, for example. It's just things that people are interested in seeing. And also, another thing to touch on in both games, it can produce interesting videos that are entertaining to watch. I enjoy doing that as well.
For about a year now, Batman has moved on to CS Surfing for the most part. And the reason wasn't because TASing was not accepted necessarily in COD 4. It was a mix of a lot of things.
It was mostly to do with just getting bored of the game. I wasn't really bothered by any sort of reception to tools or anything like that. It didn't really bother me. Again, like I said before, I had an understanding with the server owners of the relevant servers that I played in, so I was quite happy to play there when I wanted to, and I didn't really have any issue with anyone that really mattered, so to speak, about the reception of bots. What happened was I wanted to make a tool that that had, if you've seen my Counter-Strike tool, you know that it has a line to show the player's path given the inputs from the TAS. I wanted to make a tool like that for COD 4, and at the time my reverse engineering skills were not up to scratch to do it for COD 4, but they were for Counter-Strike, just because the Counter-Strike engine is a little bit easier to work with. And I saw a path where I could make such a tool for Surf, and I went through with it. Basically, this was recommended to me, or brought to my attention. The possibility of doing a tool like this was again by a different friend, and I sort of went through with the project. I think as well, I wasn't really satisfied with the size. Well, we talk about the reception in COD 4, and it was a little bit to do with that, because the size and the reception of tools in the community was such that there wasn't such interest in the tools, and there wasn't such use to get out of them, because there wasn't really any sort of centralized leaderboards for COD 4. There was nobody keeping track of the fastest routes through a map and all the shortcuts and stuff, because there wasn't like a leaderboard. And Counter-Strike offered this stuff. Counter-Strike has a very large database of surf world records, and there's a history to it, and it's, you know, there's a huge variety of maps as well. I think on KSF alone there's over 700, 800 maps, and there's just a lot more opportunities for interesting things to do there in comparison. So that's really what drew me over. I think I was sort of bored with doing the same things on COD 4 over and over again.
Not only was Batman the first actual boater in this game whose bot could actually do something, he was also one of the first people to actually discover new techniques in COD 4, such as proper usage of 200 FPS or even correct 333 curving. All this accommodated to a new era of CodJumper, and I am sure that bots have helped us to become better at the game overall, and in my experience at least, they helped me get better overall. A small story between me and Batman, where when I first saw Batman I wasn't really happy with it, but I saw him one day on my first map, MP Project Dream. He was stuck on this fairly easy bounce that wasn't really too hard, but needed correct 1 to 5 curve. And I was noticing that even though he tried to understand it a lot, he didn't know how 1 to 5 worked. So what I did is I helped him. I granted him the knowledge of how 1 to 5 works on that bounce, and then I spectated him as he tried to make it work. And at some point, Batman lands the roof of the jump. But then I had an idea. After watching him for so long, I want to try the same bounce myself, having never done the roof myself. From my experience, I am confident that tool-assisted speedrunning and tools in general in CodJumper can help players get better at the game. How much of that is true though? I think when it comes to spectating boaters, there is a clear answer, because It is very, very rare that you will find a person who would spectate someone doing a bounce with a bot and then not try to replicate the techniques of the bot. And that is because the bot is literally proving to you that doing or trying to do the similar tech would make you land the bounce. And this is why a lot of people, even now, are still asking botters to do specific jumps for them in order to try and find out a tech or try to replicate the botter's tech, because they know the bot can do everything perfectly. And maybe that can help them achieve the result they want and land the bounce they are either stuck on or a really hard cut that they're trying.
The bot, if we were using a bot like I do, like every strafe and jump is to almost near perfection. When you're doing a jump, so it's beneficial towards other players that you can then go do the perfect jump, and other players then can watch, for example, a demo on that and see where exactly they're going wrong, or they can learn from it and try and legitimize the bot's attempt.
To other people, they can see different techniques and the angles the bot uses. And it does seem to help people kind of understand how you gain acceleration and how the FPS is used in CJ.
The fact that I think is very beneficial to the game about botting is that normal players can actually learn to play the game better by watching bots. For example, maybe they cannot replicate your movements one-to-one, but if they try, they can get the best possible human result instead of the best possible actual result, So that's also like
this is true. Yeah.
But how about someone actually learning from the bot itself by using it, let's say? Has there been instances in this game where people have learned to play with a bot and then becoming actually good legits? The really obvious answer would probably be Wilhelm, right? He started as a botter and is now the best player in the game. And I myself thought that the bot actually played a pretty big factor to him learning the game so quickly. After interviewing Wilhelm though, I actually was surprised to see that he told me he was pretty good before the bot itself came in, and that it didn't really help him as much as people would think, and it only really taught him some of the FPS values a bit better, which he pretty much already knew. But there is actually one more person that has gone towards the same direction. Sarah, a French player, got an auto FPS on his hands a while back, way before 3XP had leaderboards and all that. It was during the time Batman was still playing the game at the very beginning. At the time, he was mostly an inter player, where, if I remember correctly, because I'm good friends with him, the hardest map he had done back in the day was probably MP Descent, the first one. In his own words, the bot actually helps him identify the angles of each FPS and understand how they work. And with that knowledge and practicing half-beat for easier strafing and understanding of the game, he actually starts grinding the game. Within only a month of playing, Sarah is able to land what for me was at the time one of the hardest bounces I've ever done. And only a few weeks later, he is able to completely surpass me and destroy me and land Dark Final 20th, which for me was such a huge achievement, and it took me over a year, and it literally took him around 3 days to do. Sarah's progression was absolutely immaculate, and I was really happy to see him do so well in so quick fashion. And because Sarah was mostly playing dev map, he was under the radar quite a lot. So one day, when MP GLaDOS releases, Sarah goes onto the 3XP server knowing that I was one of the people who built the challenge way, so knowing that, he wanted to try the way out. Sarah manages to finish the way, which back then was considered pretty hard for the standards that people had back then. And one person from 3XP actually was quite surprised with Sarah's performance. And knowing how Sarah used auto FPS in the past, he simply asked Sarah, "When did you become so good?" Sarah just answers that he was playing deathmap a lot, and he learned pretty quickly. Yet, he didn't get satisfied with his run because he cheated the last bounce. But because he didn't specify the cheat that he was using, he got flagged. The cheat Sarah meant was 200 FPS because for him, any kind of hacks FPS used on a normal run was considered cheating. Sarah was absolutely fine with getting blacklisted though. People knew he had auto FPS back in the day, so a blacklist didn't really matter to him even though he didn't use it anymore. And he just continued doing his own thing, which would be trying hard bounces and trying to land ridiculous stuff for possibly any nice clips or even montage jumps. And although I cannot really show you what he landed, I can tell you that he got some ridiculous landings that we may or may not see in the near future. And these are some landings that I will probably never even land in my entire life. I think Sarah's progression and amount of skill gained in such a quick fashion wasn't just something to do with halfbeat, which we have seen commonly amongst users like Phantom and others these days, but it was more to do with how quickly he understood how the FPS works because of the auto FPS. And I mean, we're just talking about auto FPS. Auto FPS is indeed one of the cheats that can give you a very significant unfair advantage, but it's not one of the major things that the bot does for you. This is something very minor compared to other information the bot gives you, but there are some very important tools and some very important information that botters get that the normal player actually doesn't get. What would happen if a legit player had access to either the tools or the information?
What I think is one of the most useful things that I got from a bot that I found helped me whenever I decide like to play legit from time to time is how FPS angles work. Now, and that might seem a bit strange, but a bot is literally pushing the angle to its absolute length. Like you can't get any further. And what I found is that just using the bot and understanding how the window closes and how it shrinks and how it increases as where you go, and I found the bot kind of helped me understand that a lot more than what it did when I was playing just purely legit.
I think definitely the FPS values were the most useful thing I stumbled across. Like having different ranges where the FPS applies and the optimal ranges and whatnot, and understanding how FPS interacts with your velocity, because the ranges do actually change a little bit depending on your velocity. I think this is useful data for humans to understand.
Oh, for sure. FPS angles is the biggest one. So if you go do a para jump, you can't see where the end of the 333 zone is. I can go right to the edge of it and back and forth. And then there's other areas in FPS where, for instance, in 250, at some point you start strafing further out of your moving direction. So you're not going towards the angle you want to. You're still accelerating at the same rate, but you're accelerating away from where you want to land. So we can see that visually and bounce between it and not go over it. So we end up with more distance towards where we want to go.
I was surprised listening to all of these results because, in my opinion, the most important tool that the bot can offer you would be the speed loss on hits. But saying that to Ziz, he had this to say to me.
Right, I think that's actually the most interesting question. And when I play, I mostly have my eyes on the FPS wheel that we have, where we see the FPS zone for our current angle and the zones next to it, like left and right, for WA and WD. Because if you try to break it down, what tags are, it's just the timings of strafe changes, right? And those are very closely related to how close you are to the end of the FPS angle zone. So I think that might be the most important data overall. You can learn a lot about the game simply by linking FPS zones to text and seeing which zones go well together and so on. Of course, as you mentioned, speed loss on bounce, but that's like for a different level, you know, like we're talking about very, very high skill level here. Like, you don't worry about that stuff until you get everything else down pretty much. And you're like, oh, I lost like 20 speed on bounce and this guy lost 5 speed on bounce. It's like, it's a very high skill level. But it's a very interesting topic, however. Like, it's crazy what's possible and what TAS, for example, pulled off, where he gains speed instead of losing on bounce with just some crazy hits. There's one other thing that we don't personally display, but could be interesting for legit players. And from your last stream, I know that Salty's speedrunner tool basically allows you to see this in the demo graphs, and that is strafe downtime. Basically, when you strafe change, there's a time where you gain no speed. Now we have coded it up so our bot basically shifts around or strafe changes on a tiny scale so that we have virtually no strafe change, strafe downtime, except like 1 frame, which is the change itself. So when we strafe change, we only have speed loss, or no speed gain rather, on the very frame the angles snap from A to B, right? Yeah, the difference in performance when you don't have that is insane. Like, imagine the bot does everything pretty much optimal, right? But you still control it with WA and WD. And the moment you strafe change, it's not perfectly synced up. Like, say you were doing WA to WD switch. The moment you let go of A, for example, isn't the moment you press D. There's like a small moment where either both keys are pressed or none of them, which results in you getting 0 speed for a few frames, which is what you saw in the stream. And that stuff adds up quickly. Like, it could be like you don't gain any speed for 10 or 20 frames, which is insane. And if you have like 5 or 10 strafe changes, it's like you lost so much speed that it could make you not land jumps, even if your angles are like almost perfect. It's very interesting.
This is something so simple yet so important. Like, all this time, we think that the most and biggest factor that changes humans from bots are how the strafe switch from bots are instant and the human ones aren't. But it's not just the mouse speed being 1 frame, it's actually you physically holding the buttons down and not being able to hold one button down for a few frames when switching from WD to WA. And this is one other thing that I believe Halfbeat makes easier. When holding 1 button instead of 2 can make this time frame significantly smaller, where you could lose 10 frames instead of 15 per switch because you're simply having to hold less buttons. This is probably nitpicking, but I actually can see it myself when using speedrunners that whenever I try to half beat instead of full beat, I get less strafe switch downtime, not because my strafe switch is actually faster, because it usually is the same speed. I strafe switch slower in fact when using half beat, but because I'm holding the keys way quicker when switching from one strafe to another, and there is less downtime where I'm not holding W plus A or W plus T, I actually lose less amount of speed. How about some tools that the botters have though? By far the most important and most overpowered tool that botters have, in my opinion, is the segmenter. The segmenter allows you to jump in one specific attempt that you save on it and fix it on the fly. You can basically take control mid-attempt and then try to change the results of the attempt by doing either better strafes or a different tech. And in my opinion, having a tool like this available to everyone would significantly help push the skill ceiling of the game right now, because it will help us identify what is and isn't possible in terms of bounces, techs, curving speed, pretty much everything we need. We can just test it on the fly using the segmenter.
I think if everyone had access to a segmenter or recorder or whatever, the skill cap of CJ would get much higher within a short time span. For example, what game could we take? Like in CS Surf, it's not like entirely the same, but they can start from a specific segment in the map with the speed they had originally in order to train that specific part. Now, if we talk about CJ, personally, I got so used to segmenting that every time I spectate like a legit player getting perfected, I think to myself, oh nice, now I can train afterbounce part, right? Only to then realize that it was, temporary for the single attempt, and they have to do it all over again, which is like, I don't know, I cringe every time. And so yeah, I think if people were able to train specific parts of a jump, they would get that jump down much quicker than someone who has to start all over every single time. It's, as you said, primarily how I play with the bot too. I build the jump step by step, and first getting a good hit, then replaying that segment and taking over after bounce and merging good attempts together until I'm happy with it, or landed whatever I wanted to land, right? So legit players could do the exact same thing. They could record something legit performed by them, and then just incrementally build the jump. Like you first get a good hit, then you replay that part and overtake basically like the segment right at bounce, and then continue. And step by step you can get the perfect bounce, like as far as I know. So our tool supports that. So, but I haven't like personally tried it because I'm just too bad to play it legit nowadays. But another thing that's interesting is when we talk about this stuff, right? There's people who say, oh yeah, but this will get abused to cheat leaderboards. So, of course, I can understand that, but I think that's just like a symptom of having no anti-cheat. For example, if you were to use a recorder on 3xp, how would people know, right? It's just impossible. You could like pre-record a segment for a super hard bounce, replay that stuff, and nobody would know. It's just very sad. But if you were to use it on Salty's speedrunner tool, you would immediately get flagged as cheated. So I think that tool from Salty might actually help in that regard, like differentiating between obvious recorded stuff and completely legit runs. So I think, yeah, that's great.
On the 27th of August 2022, a huge post is made on the 3xp Discord, where the player Adi gets unflagged for cheating, because he never really meant to cheat in the first place. He used the recorder for one day to test it out and to see if people would know, and then after he got flagged, he played legit for a full year and is currently one of the best players in the game. But Adi's unban, so to say, sparked a huge conversation inside 3xp server, which could be a start of something very important for the game. The start to building an anti-cheat for 3xp and J8 servers. Finally, J8 servers could pretty much get saved, and then 3xp will not have to use blacklisting tags anymore. The day of me recording this is actually the 27th of August, and I truly hope that within the next few months we will get some form of anti-cheat into our CodJumper servers, and the legitimate usage of the bot amongst a normal player that just wants to learn the game better. But enough speculation. I think it is finally time to put this theory to the test. I want to start by saying that I'm not getting a bot. Ziz is giving me temporary access to his Anvil tool, as far as I know, and I will be trying out my map MP Brony V2, the bot way, which I always wanted to do and is the main motive why I'm doing this, because I wanted to actually see, first of all, how hard the bounces are and if I can do them. After this session is concluded, I will not have any form of access to any of Z's tools anymore. And besides trying out my own way, I wanted to kind of experience what Z's told me about using a bot.
Right, yeah.
So,
I think there's like one more aspect to it though, which is like, well, I kind of like touched the surface of it, but like being able to remove the inconsistency that you have is like a huge deal for me. Like for example, if I played when I played CJ legit still, I would like get perfect hit or whatever. Like if you could call it perfect back then, I don't know, 2016 stuff, you know. Nobody was really knowing what they were doing, but I was getting perfect hit, but I didn't like expect it. It was like I was bouncing in the air, then I just reloaded. I think that's a classic for everyone, and it was so frustrating to me, like that attempt was lost forever, you know. And so I got interested in it because it basically removes me or my inconsistency out of the equation entirely, and you can focus on the text completely and very, very closely observe what's going on and gain a lot more insight about the game that way. About pushing the limits of bots, I don't know. I think people overestimate bots generally. Like, of course, everything is pretty much optimal, right? I wouldn't say perfect yet, but the tags you are using are actually what's important. Of course, a bot will just destroy any normal jump from maps, right? Like how they were intended for legit players. But if we're talking about stuff that's hard even for a bot, then the only thing that matters is the tags. Everything else is out of the equation at that level, kind of. And this is, at that point, at that level, this is precisely where you learn what's good and what's not good to do. So in a sense, you're not pushing the bot to get stronger, but you're pushing like your knowledge about the game to be more like deep, and you can use that to land harder stuff, which may seem like the bot is stronger, but like you are stronger, you know, in a way. Say you would be using our bot right now and not knowing about the tech, you wouldn't land Dark Final Roof while Pass is legit overflying the thing, right? It's just I'm saying this to give like people the picture how much tech matters. Like tech is the most important thing in CJ. You can have perfect angles. If your tech sucks, it's garbage, dude. Like you can forget about it.
hearing and knowing all this kinda gives me less hope that I will be able to land any of the jumps inside my botway. But hopefully my expectations exceed what I anticipated to be able to do. Alright. Here goes nothing.
You want to press detect binds in the menu first of all.
Yeah, okay,
Go
so
press
insert.
insert. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go last tab basically.
Down the bottom left.
Okay.
Auto detect binds. Press that button. Yeah, there we go.
And you can
Now
also
make a config.
press the plus on the config.
Mm-hmm.
And just name it whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then click the save button. And the one, so it's started.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, both blows.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't want to press space. it's gonna jump itself.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can set the trigger to like at what speed to jump.
Alright. I see. I'm so used to spacebar. It's not even funny.
I mean, you can, yeah. But if you see the jump speed is like 330, then maybe don't do it. But
You should bind record and replay though.
Yeah, true. So, where do we do that?
Well, in the replay icon at the third tab, basically.
I mean, we can go speed run through the tabs. Like the first tab you see
Record.
is like.
Okay. I'll probably use the numpad for
okay.
this. I think that's fine.
Yeah, just basically get a hit on the bounce and then add RPG to it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you load position, just wait a bit because there's like a bunch of stuff going on in the background.
Okay. Alright. And then...
Yeah, now press the
Save.
recording again.
Yeah, now open menu.
Okay. And this?
And yeah, in the segment tab you see your segment. Just yeah, you can rename it and whatever if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the segment you recorded, and this is the RPG for this segment.
Okay,
So now these are like good starting settings. So you can just click active if you want, and it will shoot RPG.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
And now if you
And
replay, it will shoot the RPG.
Alright. And wait, how did I play
This.
it? This, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can take control after the RPG.
Mm-hmm.
If you press A or D, it will start like segmenting.
Okay, I see.
So then
Also,
it'll merge into one.
one thing I would say, go turn on the 3xp RPG thingy, because now you see it like if you don't have the RPG like now on, when it takes up
So
the RPG
V4
again, it
one
will like
or
yeah, either one. Like it will
sustain.
just start. Yeah, it will start reloading it instead of firing it, so
okay.
it doesn't work.
I see.
So what we tend to do, we take control after the bounce here.
Yeah, because like if you shoot RPG, it will change your speed and direction and everything. So the old strafes are not optimal anymore, you know.
So from very early on, I'm having issues, and I'm being explained that an attempt that you just use RPG on after doing no RPG will not instantly get better. You need to use RPG and re-record the attempt in order to get the best result possible, or else the attempt will not be good. Stop. Thank you.
If the keys like get stuck, you just press them once and it will like basically unstuck.
Yeah, I'm doing too. That's all. Oh wait, I expected to jump soon.
I mean, if you remember me playing, like you probably know I have like wide as fuck strafe. Like I just look like way to the right, and just WA, like it will do good angle. Guess you can try that if you want.
So wait, I need to like look here.
Yeah, go 90, but go like 10 degrees to the left. Yeah, now just go, let it jump automatically. Yeah. I think you have the jump trigger on 361. Oh, is this easy clap?
With RPG, yes, but no RPG, not really.
I think you have the jump trigger on 361, so if you want, you can make it jump at 362, but whatever.
When I started, I also had a lot of difficulties getting used to the recorder because in my playstyle, whenever I loaded position, I wanted to continue and start an attempt instantly. And the recorder calculates a lot of things in the background, so it cannot really do that instantly. So after loading every attempt, I had to wait around half a second for the recorder to start, and then I could start my attempt. Which is primarily the reason why sometimes I am just walking or looking to directions where it doesn't really make sense. Throughout this session, Z's and Pose do their best to help me understand how the bot works and are giving me tips constantly on how to improve and understand how the bot works in a better way.
Well, it should work.
I see.
Or let's see whether Moog invents new best text.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, well, I mean, that works for me.
You don't even see the laugh.
True.
But yeah, by the way, the FPS wheel is customizable if it's like, I don't know, hard to see or something.
Nah, I'm fine with it. I mean,
It's bad one.
okay. 7 units lost sometimes. Okay.
At least the lower.
Well, I bounced. Really bad hit though. Things at the start looked pretty bad. And pretty much how I exactly expected it to go. But throughout this session, I got a ton of help from Pause, Z's, and Lefty. And quite quickly, actually, I started picking up pace. Okay. We're close to what I want to do.
Basically, like, you're not getting optimal speed if you add RPG and don't segment.
I see.
Like, you see the segment, like, you just add RPG, it didn't land, but now you go overtake and you land easy.
There we go. So yeah, I think this is exactly what I wanted to do with this map, where no RPG is really hard, as you can see. Like, I need so many more units, but RPG is like fun and quite quick, so you can probably speedrun this if you're good. It's cool.
Like you replay, you see at the bottom right the number going up.
Yeah,
like the
that's the
frames.
that's the frames. Good. Great.
It's not actually the frame number, but more like the, not like millisecond or whatever.
Ooh.
If this works, you can lower the other thing as well, I guess. Oh,
Ooh. This, yeah, I saw my hits. Look at my hits. can land with this.
But yeah, if you do it like this, like if you reposition away from the
There
bounce.
we go.
Oh, nice. There we go. But
Oh.
yeah, if you reposition away
You
from
landed?
the
You landed
bounce.
or what?
Yeah, I landed.
Nice. Let's go.
Also, if you know RPG this, then big chair,
Then what?
No.
then you are a big chair or something.
Yeah, I don't think that will happen, but I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, frame perfect. You don't do 3 like 2 frames before or after a bounce, but
Oh.
like perfect. Oh, purple rare hit.
Huh? Did resolver?
Wait,
Okay.
I was like, wait, mode DC?
No. Okay.
Man's getting close.
Yeah, I gotta call Mog when I do walkthrough. Send replay for this jump, please.
Nope. We're getting close.
Wait, bones -0.
Does it show that?
Not, I mean in the bottom left.
Huh?
When you hit
What's
bounce,
your
it
bounce?
shows like
minus 0.7.
Gain speed. Nice. What Pass, for example, pulled off, where he gains speed instead of losing on bounce, with just some crazy hits.
just making sure you had change adjuster on.
There we
There
go.
you go.
It's
Holy
Nice.
fuck. Damn.
Okay, now Mesh.
new clip for video.
Oh my god, dude, I'm actually so happy that I did this. Like, knowing how hard this is. And look, it's literally perfect. It's 2 units or something. That's crazy.
The RPGs.
Yeah, I mean, the next one, if I know RPG, it's like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, I need to take over, right? Barely landed this one. Okay, well. I can't. I can't. There is no shot that I can do this without RPG.
Yeah, you see you're on the green zone, you're kind of...
Yeah.
Like, even if you go just a bit, it will just basically pull you away and you will instantly lose speed and
Yeah.
shit, so... Yeah, like remember when I landed this at the end, it was like brr, just trying to stay on the 50 zone.
Yeah, exactly. I have the feeling for it now, so I can like see what's going on. I should be able to win. Also, one thing that I need to inform you guys, I'm gonna move bot way a bit. It's not gonna change a lot, but you know, your saves will have to be redone because it's not gonna be in the same position.
Yes.
Okay. The last bounce will be the same if you want to keep that.
How to troll botters, man. Just make map update where you moved away 5 units or some shit.
Yeah.
I finished. Would you look at that?
Good job, man.
Oh wait, did you land RPG or...
No RPG. I landed no RPG.
Oh, fuck, so it's way too easy still.
Yeah, true. It is way too easy. This was truly an experience. In only 1.5 hours, I managed to do every single bounce within my boardway and finish. And seeing how I did and seeing how it actually feels to perform that way I actually managed to create exactly what I wanted in terms of difficulty, which I was really happy about, but I was even happier to be able to do and finish this way myself. Throughout this session, I learned a lot about bots themselves and the regulations, and I also learned a lot about how 333 and 250 angles work together, how you can abuse the 50 to change where you want to go a lot better. And it was truly an incredible experience, and I want to thank the Anvil team for letting me have this. But now that this session is concluded and I had my fun, it's time for Aziz to revoke my access to any of his tools. This was an incredible experience, and it was incredibly fun to do the way. And I truly hope that in the long distant future, we see a TAS leaderboard be created in every server that's playable, so that people can actually be able to use the bots and record legit runs at the same time without being punished for it. And although I'm saying distant future, things are already looking pretty good for our community. We're making big steps to actually have a TAS leaderboard in the game and to detect any kind of cheat on the fly, and that's for every server. That is not just for speedrunner, which would normally be the start of all this. I am super excited to see how the community will move forward with the TAS leaderboard, and I'm super happy to see so many people that are within our community support the TAS community and the thing they do, and let them play on the same playing field with legit players while competing on their own leaderboard. Because using a tool and playing like this is not cheating, it is only just playing the game in a different manner and having fun in the game in a different way. And that is absolutely fine. So now that we have seen how the bots work, who is the best botter out of everyone?
It's really tricky. It's definitely between Pause and Terry. Terry's not really playing much anymore. I don't know, Pause doesn't really bot much anymore either. I don't play much at the moment, but in their prime it was definitely Pause or Terry.
I would probably have to say, like, I would say either Z's or Pause. The reason for the answer is because you see certain botters interacting with jumps and struggling with it, and you can see when you watch like someone like Z's, the way he interacts with how like a jump is supposed to be done with the bot, he understands it like very intelligently. Like he understands how the bot is actually working at a core level, so he just knows how to navigate it and how to like approach a jump, whereas maybe some other botters are like still sort of learning as they go along.
That has to be Adi, right? No, I'm joking. I would say Pause and Terry for sure. I mean, Lefty is also very good, but I think Pause and Terry are just... they are very creative in how they play, and they learn hard stuff very, very quickly.
In my opinion, it's definitely Pause. I mean, he knows the tool inside out, and just look at the next jump on Edge 2. It's crazy. It's actually just crazy. It's probably the best bot jump that has ever been landed so far. On that note, this is probably where the video ends, and I do hope things get better for the future. And if in the long distant future we manage to detect tools on the fly in order to have a person who's using a tool be able to compete legit without being blacklisted, I would probably return to using tools and becoming a TAS user and a legit user at the same time. And I would be able to compete on whatever leaderboard I would want to. But for now, until that day happens, thank you everybody for your help when creating this video. And if you made it to the end, thank you for watching.